end up working on evaluating some of the impact assessments. I do these impact assessments regularly with the UN, and I work at a country level as far as few SDGs are concerned, where I provide recommendation based on the evaluations that I undertake, which helps them to improve the state of specific goal that I'm working on. For example, quality education, as I mentioned, I work on. So I work with low-income countries from Africa. For example, it could be a country like Mozambique, where I conducted an assessment.
Okay, so we are live on Facebook. We are good to go. Okay. So, hello and welcome to yet another episode of Humans of Mitti Ke Rang podcast series. Today we have with us Mr. Vidyadhar Prabhudesai. He is the co-founder and board of director at LeadCap Knowledge Solutions Private Limited, council member, Global Citizen Forum, Global Change Maker, a Ford Fellow, Global Shaper at World Economic Forum, a UN SDG ambassador, a climate reality leader, a signatory at Living My Promise, and member of Board of Advisor at Surya Kranti. Sir has also won many honors and awards, including IPL Fellow by UNESCO, Social Influencer by Action for India Forum, Mentor for Change by Niti Aayog, and many more. So welcome, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mitti Ke Rang, for inviting me for the podcast series.
Okay. So, so you being the UN SDG ambassador, I would like to know what SDG are you most passionate about? Like, and what excites you about the Sustainable Development Goals, and how does your current job tie with the SDGs?
Okay, so if you look at the 17 SDGs, you will realize that these SDGs are addressing three major components. Okay, you say these three components are the people goals, the planet goals, and the goals that are addressing for the prosperity. Okay, all these goals are deeply interconnected. Okay, and they tie in well with each other. So yeah, and personally, if I have to say something which I'm passionate about, I'm more passionate about the people goals as such, because most importantly, I'm focusing on, as far as quality education is concerned, and striking a gender balance, because that's where my work focuses on. I believe these are very critical element, as entire the human life depends on it. Depends on the quality of education and the quality of people coming out of it. So it is not just the literacy that we talk about, where we judge anybody's ability in terms of their reading skills, their writing skills, their math skills, their ability to communicate better. But it is also important about how empathetical they are, what values they hold, and how compassionate they are throughout their entire lifetime. And you would directly relate this to the current pandemic situation as such. Okay, because what we've seen is that people who have really emerged as real heroes, whoever it is, what we have seen, they are the most empathic people on the ground. They are most compassionate people who have actually emerged out of here. Now, coming back to what SDGs that are tied back to my goals as such. These are actually, in fact, tied back to the overall vision of the United Nations. Primarily, the vision of United Nations is actually covering four aspects. First, to maintain international peace and security. Second, to develop friendly relations among the nations that are the members of the UN. Third, they want to promote social progresses for the nation members. And last, they want to improve the living standards among the member countries, and as well as raise the human rights among these nations. So these are the primary goals. Being a UN fellow, and I currently end up working on evaluating some of the impact assessments. I do these impact assessments regularly with the UN, and I work at a country level as far as few SDGs are concerned, where I provide recommendation based on the evaluations that I undertake, which helps them to improve the state of specific goal that I'm working on. For example, quality education, as I mentioned, I work on. So I work with low-income countries from Africa. For example, it could be a country like Mozambique, where I conducted an assessment on the primary or the elementary education is concerned, which is probably up to a fifth grade. The idea was to understand what kind of learning quotient the students have over there in terms of understanding very basic elementary stuff such as mathematics, languages, and all other such stuff. Another example on the gender equality, what I can say, I work with countries which are most unequally scored on the gender gap. So, for example, I work with a country like in Afghanistan to know what kind of education do girls get. So a girl child is getting treated the same way as compared to a male child. Are they able to go to the school? Are they able to play a sport? Are they able to nurture the hobby? Do they have access to internet? Do they have access to health and well-being? Basically, how are they treated equally at par on with the male child? So based on the assessments I undertake, we provide recommendations and then give next course of action.
Okay, so what roles do sustainable development goals play in empowering decisions for future generation?
What roles do
sustainable development goals play to empower decisions for the future of business?
Okay, empower the future of businesses. Okay, so in my opinion, the sustainable development goals provide probably an inspiring and inclusive goals as far as future of businesses is concerned. In fact, if you see, the businesses actually have got reimagined. They actually have got a new model itself. They have completely transformed when the SDGs have come in. They have tried to reshape, reorganize, reoriented their vision, reorient their operations, even at a local level itself. Today, businesses have become an agent of development itself, wherein sustainable economic growth. And under this model, these businesses end up paying probably better wages. They get start respecting the environment in a better way. They have learned a lot of things to manage. They have learned to manage resources properly and sustainably, and they have also started contributing sustainably in terms of meeting the development goals as such, and the priorities of the cities that they are operating currently.
Okay, so another thing I want to ask you is, how will the SDGs help the businesses to recover from the crisis? Like how is sustainable and aligned with economic revival?
Sorry?
How will sustainability, I'm sorry,
Uh, yeah.
how will SDGs help the businesses to recover from crisis? Like, how is sustainability aligned with economic revival?
With economic revival. Okay,
Yeah.
so it is clear that many aspects of our lives will never be the same. Again, some of the businesses may not recover from this crisis. They have gone bust, so they have already gone bust. So we must use this challenging situation itself as it comes, as it comes as an opportunity to work together to build a stronger and more resilient economy in future, and with sustainable global development goals, keeping that in center. I think we should use this SDGs to revive the economy in three particular ways. Okay, first, by uniting all sectors, with coming up with a definitive plan to build a stronger and more resilient economy. Then what we should also do is that we should prioritize the most important and vulnerable things that are there in our society. We should prioritize them and try to eliminate the inequalities in first place. And thirdly, what we should also do is that we should build policies for a healthy planet, and develop aids for transitioning to the net zero, which again ties back to one of the SDG goals itself.
Okay, so what do you think? How do organizations need to respond to the risk and opportunities? And what are the policy trade-offs between the SDGs?
What are the policy trades in the SDGs?
Yeah.
Okay. See, it is too early to comment on the policy trade-off. We just have moved a foot towards the recovery, and hence it's very difficult to foresee and measure trade-off right now. Okay.
Okay.
So what I am saying right now is that most organizations have shifted all of their priorities based on what lessons learned during the pandemic time itself, and that is how they are also started responding as well.
Okay. So how do you select a starting point for SDGs? And how would the connection between the sustainability development goals and business risk influence on how you prioritize their SDGs?
Okay. How do I prioritize SDGs? Okay. So I think SDGs get prioritized at a CEO level in any organizations, and then they are get managed by the CSR teams and corporate communication level itself. However, there are certain challenges involved in probably integrating these into business functions itself. If you see a business function like a plant operations part of it, plant operations and maintenance part of it. So it gets challenging over there. Moreover, business focus only on a few SDGs. For example, most of them focus on, let's say, climate action, responsible consumption, or probably decent work and economic growth. So these are the most common SDGs people work on, because these are directly related to the bottom line of the companies, and maybe that is why they have given more priority or importance compared to other goals. A goal something like life below water is actually least prioritized. Okay, I think companies, what they should do is that they should integrate SDGs, okay, into various their corporate strategy itself, and then they should try and ensure that these are kind of engaging itself within the internal teams. They should look at engaging them as well.
Okay. So well, you know the 2030 agenda for SDGs is to try to achieve all the SDGs by 2030. And so why won't business as usual work in target 2030? And why should it matter to the business?
Okay, so the SDGs look at a broader level or at a macro level challenge itself. Okay, they look at economic inclusion. They look at diminishing natural resources. They look at global geopolitical issues. They look at environmental degradation. These are all macro level issues of what they focus on. However, it is important to understand that these, the SDG goals were taken and developed based on micro level inputs from businesses, from academics, from non-profit organizations. So at a macro level, UN member countries, they have agreed upon them to achieve it by 2030, and accordingly, all the governments who are a member countries itself are directed to monitor how are they progressing on these SDG goals. And if we need to meet the target, most of the businesses are likely to play a very major role. In fact, it is a clear that business. I mean, it's a clear business case. In fact, for example, if you look at quality education as such, it is directly linked to the availability of quality manpower for businesses in future. Okay, so businesses, their growth itself is tied to in achievement of HSC. So that's how businesses at a micro level are aligned to the SDGs at macro level.
Okay. So, with the current existential crisis that we are facing, the businesses are trying to achieve the SDGs. I want to ask you, should a business cherry pick the SDGs best for the business or the planet?
Cherry picking. So cherry picking, there's nothing concept as a cherry picking over here. SDGs, as I said, they have already transformed the way the business are operating right now. Moreover, all the goals, as I mentioned, are interconnected. Okay, any which ways, any business which is ethical in its approach tend to impact more than one goal. Okay, at a time, since they are interconnected, any business who is ethical tend to impact more than one goal. And it is in the interest of businesses itself, they get serious about these SDGs, these sustainable development goals, and try to bring it as a part of their strategy itself.
Okay, so well, as you mentioned, it's clear that some of the SDGs are not on the radar of business, like life below water and SDG 16, like peace and justice. So, are they covered elsewhere, or is there a risk that they won't be achieved? Like, is there a plan of action required to ensure that these SDGs will be achieved in the future?
Okay, it's very difficult to answer, but I would say, if I look at India as a country, it has the potential and the scale that it offers. I don't think so we would be left out on any of the SDGs. Okay, but what we should do is that we should definitely change how businesses spend on the corporate social responsibility funds, specifically on activities such as healthcare, education, digital literacy, poverty elevation. These some of these are again SDG goals. I see that there is a large gap in these, since these are implemented in a most traditional way, where there is no accurate measurement of goals. There is no tracking done, and the real impact is not completely get measured. Hence, what happens is that we end up duplicating a lot of efforts that we do, and there is a need to reduce this duplication. We should look at collaborating between businesses, between the high net worth individuals, various foundations, governments, and the corporates themselves.
Okay, so I think that was my last question.
Oh,
Yeah. So thank you so much, sir, for taking the time to join us today. And I really hope you keep bringing the change and win many awards for doing so. So I think that is all. Thank you so much and stay safe.
thank you so much. Thank you.
And to all our viewers, stay home, stay safe, and stay tuned. We'll be back with more such podcast right here on Humans of Mitti Ke Rang. Thank you.
Thank you.